Joining me now is meteorologist and Forbes senior contributor, Dr. Marshall Shepard. Dr. Shepard, thank you so much for coming back on once again.
Thank you for having me, Brittany. It's really a serious situation evolving in the Caribbean right now.
It's really a serious situation. You and I talked about Hurricane Beryl before it battered the Caribbean. Now it's flip-flopping between it was a Category 3, Cat 4, Cat 5. It's a major hurricane, and you wrote this for Forbes. It's an unprecedented, at the time it was Category 5, hurricane that is stunning scientists. Talk about why it is so stunning.
Well, it's still stunning, even though it has ticked down to a Category 4, a strong Category 4 hurricane with sustained winds of 155 miles per hour. Um, you just don't see this type of hurricane with this type of strength this early in the hurricane season, Brittany. Typically, the first hurricane that we expect, period, is around August 11th. And to have a Category 4, Category 5 hurricane, and I've seen some of the preliminary images out of Grenada and some of the surrounding islands essentially destroyed. And now Hurricane Beryl is making a direct path towards Jamaica with an expected landfall or interaction with Jamaica tomorrow, Wednesday.
This is a major hurricane. It's going between Category 4 and Category 5. Talk about the difference there, if there is one.
There really isn't. That's why I try to tell people not to get too hung up on category. There are these sort of artificial sort of breakpoints that we use to determine category based on the Saffir-Simpson scale, which is a wind scale. Currently, sustained winds are at 155 miles per hour. That makes it a strong Category 4 hurricane. Just a few more miles per hour wind, and it would be a Category 5, so it would be a lower end Category 5. I don't blur the lines there. The damage or impacts would be essentially the same between a 155 mile per hour and a 160 or so mile per hour storm. So we're talking about, particularly with the track that Beryl is forecast to take, I'm concerned about Jamaica because here's the deal. It will either take a direct hit, or if Beryl goes just south of Jamaica, it's still on what we call the dirty side of the eye. When we talk about a hurricane, the side to the right of the eye is what we call the dirty side. That's where the winds are strongest, and you add those to the forward motion of the storm and you get elevated winds, and that's also where the storm surge is most significant. So I'm really concerned about storm surge, the winds, extreme rainfall. There's really elevated terrain in Jamaica, which can also lead to landslides, mudslides as well.
Like you said earlier, we saw completely devastating images coming out of Beryl's wake. You are concerned about Jamaica because it could either be directly in the eye or the dirty side of the eye. A, how should people prepare there? And B, are we going to see the same images coming out of Jamaica that we saw coming out of those other Caribbean islands?
Well, I certainly hope not, Brittany. I do not want to see the same type of images coming out of Jamaica because it's a far more populated island. I imagine there may be tourists there as well. And what concerns me most is people in Jamaica haven't seen anything close to this type of storm since around 2007 or so, or I believe it was so with hurricane. I can't remember the hurricane that happened, but it's been a while. I think it was 2007, but it's been a while since they've experienced this type of storm. And so people can get what I call hurricane amnesia. They forget how to react. They forget what to do. On top of that, you have people perhaps there that have never experienced anything like this at all. But here's the fact that I want to convey. No one in Jamaica has seen a storm this strong in July, early July, right before 4th of July. This is the strongest storm we've seen at this particular date since we've been keeping records. So it's an unprecedented storm. If you have not been able to get out by now, I mean, I hopefully people that can leave can perhaps get out if they're traveling back from vacation. But those people that are there, hopefully they are taking the adequate protections that they need with their homes and with their safety.
You're really raising the alarm bells here, and I really appreciate it. It is an unprecedented storm. So what is concerning you most when you see Beryl and its path going to Jamaica and beyond?
So it's really interesting. I'm still holding hope that between now and Wednesday afternoon, there is a little more wind shear that the storm will be moving into. And as I've talked about before with you, Brittany, hurricanes like really warm water. There's plenty of that. And they also don't like a lot of wind shear, which is changes in wind speed or direction as you go up in height. So I'm still hoping that the wind shear will knock the storm down on a few more miles per hour. But based on the latest data that I just saw before I came on with you, at 5 o'clock from the National Hurricane Center, they are still forecasting this storm to be a major hurricane, which is at least Category 3 or higher. And so that is of concern to me because it's going to either be a direct hit or in the dirty side of the eye. Now, once we get beyond Jamaica, I think the Cayman Islands will have impacts as well. So if you're listening or watching or have folks in the Cayman Islands, they will have experiences as well. Once we get further into the Western Caribbean, I think places like the Yucatan Peninsula will experience Hurricane Beryl. Hopefully, it will have weakened some, but we don't know that for certain. It looks like there's some trends towards weakening to just a hurricane, not a major hurricane. And then as we look further out for the weekend, is the storm going to impact the U.S. coast? There's some models hinting that the southern coast of Texas around Corpus Christi or Brownsville could be impacted. Other models are hinting at more northern Mexico. I think within the next day or so that will clarify, but if you're anywhere from the Mexican coast to the middle part of the Gulf Coast of Texas, you need to be paying attention to this storm now and perhaps even have a plan.